The 2025 NBA trade deadline is in the books, and on today's show, I'm going to tell you why the New York Knicks got some bad news. And it's not because they did not make a big-time trade and upgrade the roster on deadline day. It's because teams that are ahead of them in the standings, they got much better, and I believe the Cleveland Cavaliers have really made it known they are the best team in the Eastern Conference after making a blockbuster trade. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's dive into it. No deadline day deals for the New York Knicks, but they did make a deal last night. Delon Wright, you are a member of the New York Knicks. Jericho Sims goes to the Milwaukee Bucks. They actually joined in late on this Kyle Kuzma trade. They get like $2 million in cash in Delon Wright. This really comes down to they were motivated to get Jericho Sims off this roster, and I'm interested to see if Tom Thibodeau, a guy that likes veterans, a guy that likes players that are defensive-minded, both those fit Delon Wright, can fit into this rotation. Does he take the spot of a guy like Landry Shamet? Does he play at all? I think it's TBD at this moment, but Wright has one NBA skill that is still pretty good, and that's being able to defend ones, twos, and some threes. He can still get it done on the defensive side of the floor. He shot less than 38%, though, from the field over the last 72 games, spanning over the last two NBA seasons. With the Knicks not making a move as well, I think they are pushing their chips into the table in the sense of they are betting on Mitchell Robinson. One, to get fully healthy. Two, stay fully healthy. And three, still be that impact player he was prior to the injuries. Look, we know when Robinson is out there, he's able to make an impact. Thing is, he's not out there nearly enough. Over the last 5 years, he's played in more than 60 games just one time. And sometimes in professional sports, the best ability is availability. And if Robinson was more available, he would be one of the best centers, especially on the defensive side of the floor. 4 years in a row of averaging more than 4.5 offensive rebounds per game. He's an absolute beast on the offensive glass. And we saw him, speaking of the Cleveland Cavaliers, play really good against them and dominate that series in the 2023 playoffs. He averaged 8 points per game, 9.8 rebounds in 28 minutes per game, 5.8 offensive rebounds, 2.2 blocks, and 1.2 steals. And how could we forget the closeout performance where the Knicks moved on to the second round to play the Heat, where Mitchell Robinson put up a stat line of 13 points, 18 rebounds, 11 offensive rebounds, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. If that Mitchell Robinson still exists, if that Mitchell Robinson returns to the New York Knicks, that's going to be viewed and looked at and feel like a major trade deadline acquisition for the New York Knicks. I'm hoping that's the case. If you can add Mitch, you just add different ways to your team and to your portfolio that you can win basketball games. Robinson, when healthy, is a difference maker. Let's hope he is healthy. Let's hope he stays healthy, and he never misses a game the rest of his career. Look, the Knicks not making a big trade on deadline day is not bad news at all. And to be honest, I'm not worried, concerned, upset, mad they didn't make a trade. I didn't think there was a trade out there for them to make. They were working with limited trade chips. Like, we know at this point, if you were going to make a big deal, it was going to involve Mitchell Robinson. And it didn't sound like Robinson had much trade value across the league due to his injury. And you can't force a trade when there is no deal. Like, it takes two to tango. Is it two, or how many people does it actually take to tango? That's what I'm wondering about. But it takes two people to come to an agreement. It's been a long day here at Chat Sports to get a deal done. And the Knicks can't hold another team at gunpoint and make them do a deal. So if there's no deal out there, you can't force one. There's no bad things to talk about the Knicks not making a trade. They made 2 major trades this offseason, Cat and Mikal Bridges. The bad news is, while you didn't get better at the deadline, teams that are already better than you according to the NBA standards, they got much better. And I think outside of the Los Angeles Lakers and the San Antonio Spurs, the biggest NBA trade deadline winner was the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they were able to do on deadline day, which is give up a handful of second-round picks. I think it was 2 second-round picks, maybe 3. Caris Levert, Georgie Niang for DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated basketball players in the NBA. This is someone that at 6'8" is averaging 19 points off the bench. He was the number 1 bench scorer in the NBA this year. He has more 20-point games off the bench than anybody this year. He has more 25-point games than anybody off the bench this year. And, like, this is a wings league, And seeing a guy that averages 19 on 39% from three on nearly 7 attempts that can play defense as well, not even go for a first-round pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers robbed the Atlanta Hawks. And all the Cavs were missing was a legit two-way wing that could be a point-of-attack defender and shoot 40% from three. And there they go. He joins a team with Donovan Mitchell, with Darius Garland, with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to maybe form the best big five in the NBA. Like, you now look at the starting fives for these teams. In the New York Knicks, Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby and Towns. That's as good as it gets. But when you talk about Garland, Mitchell, Hunter, Mobley, and Jared Allen, that's really good starting five as well. And the New York Knicks are already looking up at the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference standings. Like, the Cavs are 41-10, y'all. 41-10. They are a damn good team, and I know it's fun to say, they're just the Hawks of a couple of years ago. The Hawks were the Hawks of a couple of years ago because they ran into a guy named LeBron James in his prime. Prime LeBron James was able to beat a team with 5 All-Stars on it that didn't have any considerable superstars. The Cavs, they got 5 really good players. I don't think LeBron James is coming to play for anybody in the East anytime soon. Let's stop as a group taking the Cavs lightly. I actually worry about the matchup with the Knicks with the Cavs. They're a high pick-and-roll team. They spam it, and the Knicks, they've struggled in the pick-and-roll this year. Who do you think has a better starting five, though? We talked about it. I think the Knicks are just as good as anybody, but the Cleveland Cavaliers, they got way better today. I think they are the winners of the trade deadline in the East. NYK, CLE, who has a better lineup. We'll talk more about this and recap the entire NBA trade deadline in a second. First, though, I got to give a major shout-out to our proud sponsor, GameTime. If you're looking to get tickets to the big game or you want to go to a Knicks game, maybe a concert or a theater event, the best place to get the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed is with our proud sponsor, GameTime. GameTime is the best ticketing app on the market, and when you use our promo code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, you get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. You can go to this Bulls at Knicks game coming up in a couple of days. They've got super deals going on right now for you to get into Madison Square Garden, and if you use that all-in pricing feature, the price you see is the price you pay. And if you use the Game Time Picks feature, it's going to make it that much more easy for you to get the best seats for the lowest price to go see your favorite team perform. It's more than just sporting events, though. You go to concerts, you go to theater events, you go to so much more. I've used Game Time a handful of times. I've gone to the Home Run Derby. I have gone to a college football playoff game. I've gone to an NFL playoff game. And it's the only app I use now for my ticketing needs. So check it out. Download the app, create an account, use that promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Get $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time. Support the show. Support the sponsor. The 2025 NBA trade deadline was really one of the more interesting ones in NBA history, and especially my time covering this team. It's my 5th year now covering the NBA for Chat Sports, and this was by far the craziest trade deadline, but maybe the weakest trade deadline day in the NBA. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with Patrick Seatman and producer Cully and Roley and all the guys, Smitty as well, and we're like, man, there's just not a lot of juice going on right now across the NBA. It seemed like the Jimmy Butler trade was really the only one that seemed like it was going to happen, and then fast forward to last night, it turns into maybe one of the craziest trade deadlines of all time. I mean, Jimmy, imagine showing this picture to somebody 2 years ago and being like, yo, this is what the NBA is going to look like. Jimmy as a Warrior, Luka as a Laker, Kuzma as a Buck, Wiggins as a Miami Heat, Dalton Connect already changed teams, Marcus Smart to the Wizards, Valanciunas to the Kings, Caris Levert to the Hawks, Schroeder to the Pistons, Anthony Davis to the Mavs. Then you got guys like Brandon Ingram going to the Toronto Raptors, Zach LaVine going to Sacramento, Chris Middleton to the Wizards, De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. Like, this was one of the crazier trade deadlines if you include the prior week in totality. Some moves that happened today, we'll quickly recap those. Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills, they are now members of the Los Angeles Clippers. The Utah Jazz, they get Mo Bamba, PJ Tucker, a second-round pick in cash. Nothing really too big there, but then there was the biggest trade ever in NBA history. AD, Max Christie, and a 1. AD, Max Christie, and a 1 for Luka Doncic. I feel bad for all Mavs fans that are not Cowboys fans. If you're a Mavs fan and a Cowboy fan, you can kick rocks. Hope you do it with no shoes on. But if you like the Mavs and you hate the Cowboys, deepest condolences to you. You just fat-shamed Luka Doncic out the door for AD, Max Christie, and 1 first-round pick. Another blockbuster trade. De'Aaron Fox goes to the San Antonio Spurs, and the Victor Wembanyama era is here. And it got here a lot faster than I think a lot of people anticipated. I think Wemby's got potential to be the best player of all time. And I know people are going to have some shock value. Marsh, you're crazy. Okay, let's just watch. Let's see what happens. I've never seen a player dominate a game on defense like him. The on-off numbers illustrate that. He is still learning how to run like a baby deer, and he is still already dominant. De'Aaron Fox rolls out of bed and gets you 13 assists last night. The Spurs, they're going to get ready for the next dynasty. Maybe the third biggest trade. Jimmy Butler going from Miami to Golden State Warriors. Andrew Wiggins, P.J. Tucker, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick go to Miami. Jimmy Butler lands in the Bay, and he signs a 2-year, $120 million contract extension. The Pistons get involved to add Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick with Dennis Schroeder going to the Jazz. Not his final stop. I loved this trade as well for Toronto. I think it's a group of misfit characters, but I like the idea of trading salary in Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, who are not going to be needle movers for this organization for any time soon, and you give up 1 first-round pick. Match salary and 1 first-round pick for Brandon Ingram, once an all-star in this league, still under 30 years old. I love buying low on a talented player like him. The Lakers weren't done, though, by just adding Luka Doncic. They go out and they shocked the world last night, adding Mark Williams. They give up a first-round pick in 2023. They also give up Dalton Knecht, so essentially 2 first-round picks for Williams. Uber talented, 16-10 this year for Charlotte, but he's had a lot of injuries. If he can stay healthy, it'll be worth it. Another wild trade was the Phoenix Suns and the Charlotte Hornets. Cody Martin and Micic and a second-round pick going to Phoenix with a first-round pick and Yusuf Nurkic going to Charlotte. Essentially a salary dump for Charlotte, but they have to attach a first-round pick just to get back Cody Martin. A deadline buzzer beater. Marcus Smart, a player we talked about on the channel this morning, potentially being on the move. He goes from the Grizzlies to the Wizards. The Wizards also get a first-round pick for taking on his salary, and Johnny Davis, Marvin Bagley, and 2 second-round picks. Those were the biggest deals of the deadline. My question to you is, the Knicks are the blank best team in the Eastern Conference. I want to hear from you. 1, 2, 3, 4? Let me know. And make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG, @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up. Appreciate you guys, all the love you've shown through trade deadline season. We're not stopping videos every single day. So subscribe, turn notifications on, and let's go Knicks.